Since we're new to watercolors, it's a really good idea to get familiar with our paint set. So what I have here is a tube set. It's just a basic student set, and it comes with 12 colors. And these are all in tubes. These are going to last a really long time because very seldom will you use the paint out full on in full vibrancy. And there are a couple colors in here that I probably won't use much at all. One is lamp black. I would only use lamp black when I'm going to be painting outlines, and I sometimes prefer to use ink for that because it flows nicely. And also there is Chinese white, and I wouldn't use this either very much. I'd probably choose a gouache over this. So I'm just going to set those two aside and not even refer to them. But what I have picked up to go with my set is Paynes Gray, because it's a nice darkening gray, and I've also picked up an aquamarine blue because that's just such a pretty color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set out, I'm going to lay out this paper so that I can place a little bit of color from each of my tubes onto this page, and then using a gradient wash, I'm going to discover all of the colors that I can make using just the solid amount of the color from the tube. So this will be not mixing colors at all, just straight out of the tube. What colors do I have? So to do this, I'm going to divide my page into 12 segments. So first I'm going to divide this whole thing in half by making a line down the middle. You can do this any way you like. I'm just using watercolor paper and a ruler here and a pencil. So that's going to give me 2 halves. And now I'm going to make 6 sections. And I'm just going to use my ruler for the width on these. So I'm just going to go straight across and both sides of the ruler. And I'm actually going to leave a little gap in between because I don't really want my colors to run together. So this little line in between will keep me from painting them onto each other. So what you can do next is grab a Sharpie and label along the edges the colors that you're going to be placing on the chart. So it's also a good idea to decide what order you're going to place the colors. So we should just plan an order here. And so why don't we start off with the yellows at the top. I have 2 yellows. And from yellow, we can move into maybe some reds. And I have these 2 reds. And then I have 2 browns. Let's put those at the bottom. And then going across the other side, let's start with a green. I only have 1 green, Viridian green. And then we'll move through some blues. And I'm going to use cobalt and ultramarine. I dropped it on the floor. Here it is, ultramarine blue. And then my darkest Prussian blue, and then into violet, and then I'll put my Paynes Gray up at the top. So I can just go ahead now and label these along the edges. Alright, so I've got all my labels written, and now all I need is some water, and it's always a good idea to also have a cloth. So I'm just going to work with a student grade flat brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tube of lemon yellow and I'm going to squeeze a tiny little bit of it right on to my chart. Just right here at the top where it says lemon yellow, it's going to squeeze a tiny bit. So what I'm going to do now is a gradient wash. So first thing I'll do is spread this across the top of my rectangle. So this is pure paint right out of the tube across the top. Very, very seldom will I want to work with this strong of a color. But now what I'm going to do is dip in water, and I'm just going to paint my brush across in the next row here, and I'm going to continue doing the same thing, bringing more water into my brush as I go down the rectangle. So each time I dip, I'm diluting my paint more. And I'm never going back up to touch that lemon yellow at the top because I want to see what happens to this color as I add more and more water. So that's it. Lemon yellow, done. Give my brush a really good cleaning and go on to yellow ochre, repeating the same process. So just a little smudge, really just, you see the tip there has a little bit sticking out. All you have to do is smear that much right on your page. And then we'll brush it across the whole width of this rectangle so that we have solid yellow ochre at the top. So you might wonder why we would do this. And the reason is that the color that's printed on the tube is pretty close to the color that's in the paint, but this will help you see how the paint actually behaves on the paper. So when you're painting with this color, what does it look like when you're painting on the paper? Because solid colors have a very different appearance than diluted colors do. So this will give you an idea of the different range of tonal values or the different shades of the hue that you can get. So there's some color theory words for you. Hue and shade. So we're getting to see the different shades of this color within the hue, all the way down to the lightest. Now I could fill in over here, but I don't care to. I just want to leave it so that I can see the dark to light of the yellow ochre. So I'm going to do the rest of this in time lapse. I'll come back in if I happen to say anything interesting, but I don't think I have anything else interesting to say. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this in time lapse. But I do recommend that you make your own one of these because you can get to know your own paints, because my kit is not the same as your kit. And if you get new paint colors, you should do the same thing with them. Always getting to know your colors to see how they work for you. So right here, I see that the paint is pooling a little bit at the bottoms because of the fact that I didn't tape down my paper. So all I'm doing is using my brush clean and just picking up a little bit of the extra paint that's pooled down where I want to see my lightest grade. So if you see that happening, clean your brush off really well and just suck up the paint that's sitting and pooling. And you have to do this before it dries. My yellow, I didn't notice it happening right away. So this yellow ochre is not probably going to get sucked up as well because it's had a chance to dry a little bit more than the others. But I just want this last little edge to be the lightest value of this color that I'm likely to find using this particular tube. So I'm just going to let this row dry, and then I'm going to turn it around and continue. So I'm on my last color now. I'm doing Paynes Gray, which you can see starts off really black at the top. It's got a very full tonal color here. I will use this color very infrequently, probably very diluted when I do use it, and often it would be used for painting something that's a night scenery, or even to paint water or something. I wouldn't really use it for shadows, not very often at all. This would probably be used more in a scene that has more gray values than colors. But it's a very dark and powerful color. And it washes all the way down to this faint gray color. So as you can see, this chart is going to really be helpful when I'm painting something and I want to know if I'm trying to decide which tube of paint to use. I can just pull out this chart and decide that the blue I'm looking for is this blue here. And so rather than wonder what blue I need, I'll know that I should pull out my Prussian blue. Or if I know that I'm looking for a brown that looks like this one, rather than debate between burnt umber and burnt sienna, I can pull out my burnt sienna. So this obviously gives you a nice range of colors to work with, but what if the color that you're wanting to use is not there? What that means is that probably what's going to happen next is you're going to need to mix some colors. So I'll be showing you a tutorial on how to make a color mixing chart. So in essence, what we would do is see what happens if we mix Prussian blue with lemon yellow. Using just these two colors, we can come up with this whole range of yellows and greens and blues. Or what if we mixed Prussian blue with violet? We could come up with these mid-tone ranges that just aren't available with our solid full-on colors. So the next tutorial on paints, getting to know your paints, will be a color mixing chart that will help you get to know your paints better. Even if you're looking for skin tones, you'll be able to discover which of your paints would be good for using those. And if you'd like to do some painting projects, you can check out my two recent ones, which are the superhero heart and the alien stargazing. I show you step by step how I've gone to make these two pieces of art, and I also do some speed art if you just want to watch it done in fast motion. So thanks for watching, and tune in next time for color mixing charts.